I'm so excited. We had a lot of fun yesterday. We ended up putting some water drops on our canvases, on our fruit. All right, and just show you guys here. Make sure you can see. And so the three fruit that was the biggest, right? You can't really put water drops on tiny little blueberries, but I guess you could if you really wanted to. But yeah, we chose our apple and our pear and our plums. And plums were actually my favorite ones that we added some water drops. So I'm going to show you how we did these. Okay, so little sneak peek there that's going to be in the fruit series that we added as well. So um, hopefully you guys are going to jump on that. All right, so I'll show you on here too a little bit. So depending on how big your project is, guys, you definitely have to kind of downsize on your brushes, okay? So I did play around a little bit before. I don't know if anybody has been with me from the very, very beginning when I first got brave to do a live. I tried to do a water drop thing, but it didn't work out too good because I really sucked at going live and I didn't have the proper equipment. So the picture of this turned out really great. It's just, that video didn't turn out very good. And it was so long ago that I know I can do way better now today. And play with this a little bit more. So this is what we were playing with last night in the fruit class that I kind of want to show you. And it's really, really simple, guys. It's actually very similar to some of the techniques that you might already know. Okay, but it's just how to put it together and the little things that you have to look out for. What happens, guys, is whatever you're painting on, you'll still see a hue of that color through your little bubble. Okay, so that's the little bit of the trick, is to make it hollow, so then that way that you can see that little bit of the accent through it. Okay. So if you guys seen, I already shared some of the big, huge ones that I did when I did a mural with a bunch of my friends that we used to do the fall fairs with. And it was so much fun because they were all different talents. Like we had graffiti artists there with spray paint cans and just so many different types of talents of different techniques. And we all just collaborated and put things together on the fly. It was just at the moment, and there was so much fun. And I spent a couple summers doing that while I was living in Toronto, and by all these different suburb areas that you could travel to, and down on the Toronto downtown on the lake, and it was just so much fun. Busker fests and stuff like that. So yeah, I added water drops to all of my flowers, and if you look through all those pictures, you can actually see who did all the one stroke. Because I was the only one there, and it was so much fun because their mouths were dropped watching me put two colors on my brush at the same time and just fly with these techniques. So yeah, there's lots and lots and lots of fun that you can have. Okay. So one of the tricks is making sure that you have, quite a bit of floating medium in your brush, okay, so that you can get some slide and movement. And then many times with one stroke, we multi-load two colors at the same time. But there's times that we like to pop in a little extra or do some techniques with just one color. And the one thing that I like about this, it's so easy, right? You just have to make sure that you're only loading a little tiny bit of color on your brush, okay? And then you're going to work that in a little bit so that you get a really soft gradient of color that's translucent behind it. So you have a little bit of a strong edge, but you also have that little tiny bit of a gradient going on. Okay, so you work that in really good. All right, and then it's basically done in two parts on the main part, and we do the colors separately, so then that way you can keep them focused. And the back part is very similar to some of our rosebuds. Okay, so you can just kind of play around with that. Gonna add even more floating medium than normal because of the cardstock. And depending on what shape you want to do your bubbles, sometimes you want to make them more sideways or more long and droopy, you know, a little bit more like drips, you know. So it depends on where it's sitting on your flower, or is it on a flat spot, or is it actually on something that's going to be rolling down and dripping. So this is where some of them have a little bit more of a bell bottom to them. So there's so many different ways of doing them, right? So it's just about getting your backstroke in there and having that soft gradient, you know, and not making it too black, guys. I'm making it a little bit darker than you probably need to, just so that you guys can see and how I want to see that little bit of dirty grays behind it. Okay, so then that way you get that little bit of softness. Okay, so I'm just trying to neaten this up a little bit more. And usually it's best just to do it once, just so that you get a nice light color, nice washed out translucent black. Okay, and then just like our rosebuds, okay, you're going to play around and give yourself a bottom and follow it around and up. Okay, make it really nice and soft. Okay. So this one here, you want it to make it just a little bit bigger, so you can just come down and scoop a little bit more wider. Okay, and then you're going to join these two ends right in there. So then when you go and put it together, okay, you have your fade at the bottom of your bubble. Okay, so you want that nice little gradient shading technique. You don't want it too peaky, you know, just soft waves. You know, you can put them in like that if you want. All right. So then what you're going to do is, what I usually do is I just put a whole bunch of those little bubbles everywhere in different sizes and shapes and try to get creative with them. And then when they're all in there, then I go back and I do the same technique again, and I just side load a tiny little bit of white this time. Okay. And then what we're going to do, because you want that little bit of soft haze in there too, right? You want to see that gradient. You don't want to see a line. Okay. So what you're going to do is going to tuck that in right along the inside of your bubble. Okay, so I'm just trying to stall a little bit there and let this dry so that if I do touch it, it doesn't smear. So this is why I usually do a bunch of them at the same time, and then popped in that little extra highlight at the after. Okay, so you want to make sure you have a little bit of a bright white at the very edge, but you still want that gradient, guys. Okay, so this is where you're going to just float in that little bit of white. Okay, so sometimes a little bit of light will make the dark stand out, and then a little bit of dark will help the light stand out, right? So you just want to make sure that it's a little bit soft and faded out. You don't want no hard line. Okay, so sometimes I'm just gonna add some floating medium in there just to kind of blend that out and soften it out if it's a little bit hard on you. Okay, and then you just need a few little highlights. Okay, so this is where I like to have my script liner, and you can dilute a little bit on the side here if you want, just with some floating medium or a little bit of water. Okay, because it's just a tiny little bit of few strokes that we're going to do with them, and you just want it to be able to just practice on the side, see how tiny you can make those little strokes. Okay, before you go in, and make sure that your brush is loaded properly. And then sometimes what I do is like a little bit of a wave, and with our liner brushes it's great because you can really push on it and get some width on it and pop it right up on the chisel again. Okay, so that's how you get a little bit more interesting looks. in your, and it all depends on how big you are, because obviously the smaller you get, the harder you're going to see all those little details. And where you want to pop them in is just along your little gradient line. Okay, and sometimes I'll add another little tick. Okay, so you don't need too many, and less is always more. Alrighty, so that's basically it, guys. Alright, so you're just gonna put that little tick in there. Make it tiny. And that's gonna help give it that little bit of a glow. Okay, to make it look like a bubble. And then when you add it to something, you're going to have those colors underneath. Okay? Does that sound easy enough, guys? So if you want this practice sheet, guys, it's going to be in the fruit series. It's all going to be part of that little package. But we did do some advanced techniques in the fruit series to bump you up a little bit more. And if you're not ready for all of that, then please, guys, jump on the intro program with the boot camp. And I'm here for you guys, okay? You can send me unlimited pictures. Yeah, send me your homework. That's the only way I can help you guys, through pictures, through meeting me on Zoom. Set up a private one-on-one Zoom with me if you want. It comes free with your intro program. Or anybody can sign up anytime. $15 for half an hour. And come pick my brain. All right. So is there any other more questions that I see here, guys? Great way to learn. Oh, I love it. I love it. I love it. I'm just having a blast here, guys. And thank you for choosing me to help you with your one-stroke journey. Please check out my official page, okay? Because that's where you can share my stuff, guys. If you want your friends to join you, you can invite them to the group here. You can subscribe and like my videos on YouTube. You can, do all those wonderful things. I would really, really, really appreciate to help get the word out. And have yourself a wonderful, happy painting day. And we'll see you guys soon.